Greetings to all of you that have joined us today, both in person and virtually. Today is April 28th, 2026. The time is now 10 a.m. Thank you for joining us for our special called meeting. I am Pamela Portis, president of the school board. We welcome all school board members. We have established a quorum today. May I hear a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda as printed.
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as printed. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, may I see a show of hands of all those in favor? The vote is unanimous. Now we will receive as information from Dr. Ford, the Director of Strategy and Innovation, job description, as well as the Director of Virtual Learning, Education Technology. Dr. Ford. And Dr. King.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Superintendent Dr. Byrd, board members. I wanted to present this as information. One correction that I want to make is the Director of Virtual Learning for this particular position. So I do apologize. It says Director of Virtual School, but we don't have a school as of yet. So both of these job descriptions are being repurposed and consolidated to better serve the district and its capacity, as well as for the Director of Virtual School Learning and Educational Technology. That is a position that will provide leadership on the virtual school that is really coming on online, as well as address some of the educational technology needs of the teachers in terms of what teachers will need to meet the state guidelines regarding educational technology. So this position actually, and the job duties and responsibility will show the leadership over the virtual learning, and then whereas also the leadership of educational technology. The second position is Director of Strategy and Innovation. What that position does, it was originally designed under ad valorem tax to actually oversee more than just the magnet schools. It was designed to also oversee charter schools. And so part of this particular position is to reintroduce the position as it was intended, because the funding source does speak to virtual magnet and virtual school, as well as alignment with the district strategic plan and the key initiatives.
Dr. King, would this be, this repurposed description be for the replacement of Ms. Hatch?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And let me make this clear again for me. So this position would cover the virtual school, the magnet schools, and the charter schools?
No, that's on the Director of Strategy and Innovation, is the magnet and charter schools under Director of Strategy and Innovation. The Director of Virtual Learning is Education.
Just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's just the one that is being repurposed, strategy for innovation job description is magnet and charter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
It's not necessarily a question, but the way that you guys have targeted, especially to repurpose it.
Yes, ma'am.
The way you guys have targeted, I think it's a reminder to the public, to central office. It's not just a filling
of somebody that's leaving. I think it targets just through the name only and shows how hard the board, Dr. Byrd, and the central office have stopped and said, hey, let's target this, let's pinpoint this. And just in the name itself, whoever takes this job knows exactly what they're doing. More so, what it does when you see when we had dropped enrollment through, like, think about it, charter schools. Now we're accepting the charter schools. Not only that, we looked at, I love how Dr. Byrd takes things that sometimes look negative and says, okay, let's work with this negative and make this negative positive. And that's why, you know, on a daily basis, I look at us and I'm so proud that God led us to put the right people in place, because every board member here makes sense and is a piece of what is happening. This is going, when you look at especially the virtual, you look at Will Barfoot's Choose Act, or the Choice Act. We have it, it's here. Whether we like it or not, we can look at it as negative, but now we're not. We have now set us up as a state of the art, you know, on technology. I hope the public knows and sees our enrollment, not only just dual enrollment has tripled under Dr. Byrd, but now our just enrollment period with something like this. And when you add innovation to it, hey, it's a no-brainer for me, and I'm just proud of the whole team that put it together.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Brown.
I just have one point of clarity. Give me the exact title of the job, because you said something different than what's printed,
Yeah,
and we
it's the-
need clarity.
Yes, ma'am. And I apologize for that, but it should be the Director of Virtual Learning and Educational Technology. And part of that is because we are in the initial phases of bringing virtual school on board. It will become a virtual school when we reach 250 students, and then that will become its own cost center. So, but right now, in the initial phase, is Director of Virtual Learning
Thank you.
and Educational Technology.
And I apologize, Dr. King, I thought I said it, I should have made it known that it was a change.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a good clarification for that.
My apologies.
Any other questions or comments? Okay,
Thank you all.
our next order of business is special education and recruitment incentives by Ms. Katrina Jackson. Ms. Jackson, welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, Dr. Byrd. I'm here for you to receive this information, a recruitment and retention proposal, so that we can make sure that we are shoring up our vacancies in special education. We have done a comparison with Tuscaloosa City, Elmore County, and some other surrounding districts to see what incentives are making the most traction and would make the most sense for our district. So we are proposing a recruitment and retention bonus for special education teachers and for paraprofessionals and registered behavior technicians for a period of 3 years, 2006 to 2009. The cost would be split funded with special ed funds and ad valorem designated for hard-to-staff positions. The potential cost would be $1.1 million. Each special ed teacher, aide, and RBT would have to commit to 3 years. We do have defined eligibility criteria built into this proposal, as well as accountability measures, the conditional award clause that the district reserves the right to withhold or revoke under certain conditions, and each participant would have to sign a financial agreement that they understand and agree what their requirements are in order for them to receive this supplement each year for 3 years. And we will also conduct an annual review so that we can look at the effectiveness of this and to ensure that the intended goals have been met, which would include to reduce the turnover and provide continuity of services for students with disabilities. We will be able to save right now when we are staffing through contracted services. We are spending well over the 1.1 million that this supplement would provide for permanent teachers. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
One is a question and one is a suggestion. I know you said you covered the part on accountability. I totally agree with the special education. We have a special education problem across the country. It's not just Montgomery. And I love the idea that you're doing incentives. We need the incentives. But here's my first question. When will that supplement be paid? Is it paid monthly?
No.
Is it paid at the beginning? Yes, I hope not, because we are losing teachers. The average teacher leaves us in 3 years. And let's look at it. Dr. Angie Pelton has the residency group, which needs to be expanded, by the way. And kudos to what she's doing. But what I'm saying here is these incentives, we've got to put money in. I want to make sure that on an accountability issue that they're not paid. How are they paid? That's my question.
Okay.
How are they paid?
So it would be paid twice a year in 2 installments, in August and in June of the following year. So at the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year.
And what if, I'm just going there, so you pay at the beginning in August, and by October they leave?
Well, in our previous financial agreement, we do have a stipulation in there for where we have done this before, that if they leave before the term is up, then they would have to return a portion, and it's based on a percentage. Based on how long that they're actually staying, a percentage of that would have to be repaid to the district.
Okay, and I'm just making sure.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
me. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm not putting it down at all. It's just, I just look at how many teachers are leaving. My next, and I've said this before, I know you've told me, you and I have talked about programs that, what I don't understand is why, if we are paying dual enrollment for grades 10 through 12, all the way, to an associate's degree, why can we not help these teachers, especially our new teachers, that you got to understand when these teachers come to our on emergency certificates, they went 4 years to college just like we did. And then we pull them in, we pay them the same thing that we pay every teacher, and then we go, oh, guess what? You're not certified, so you've got to go spend literally $20,000 more to get certified in 3 years. And guess what? They say they're going to do it. They don't. And common sense, we're losing them in 3 years. So why can we not somewhere sit down and come up, if we're paying dual enrollment for 10 through 12, why can we not help those new teachers by paying a portion of their education? not
Dr.
just the
Keith,
bonus?
is this still special education?
Well, yeah.
Okay,
It could go
you-
straight for special education.
Okay.
I
just
think it
wanted
would
to
get,
be
we would
sure, 'cause
gain
you're
more
saying-
teachers in that. But I'm covering, I don't want to do just that. I think all these if you stand in the shoes of these 500-plus teachers.
Oh,
that
I
come
get it. I
here,
just wanted to make sure
I just
that
want,
we're
I'm
directing the right-
expanding it out.
to the right
Because I
people.
mean it. It's very heartfelt, and what I'm saying is that an incentive doesn't have to be a bonus that's paid twice a year. An incentive is, hey, we're going to pay for your education, just like if we can do it for 10th through 12th graders. We can do this for our teachers that want to serve for us, to serve our children.
May I make a suggestion to you then? And I love your question. That deserves a space for new business in May. So think about that and bring that back too, because you're right. If they are incurring costs and we're paying them, what can we do a little bit different to offset it? So will you do that for us?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, to add to that as well, I think that that's a wonderful idea, and that is also something that we can look at. We can get with federal programs to actually to see how we can make that happen. So we can definitely have some further discussions
And we've
about
got
that.
a good guy, Jason, over that, and we've been planning on a meeting Let's do that soon.
Gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha. Yes.
Go after her.
But
Also, too, Ms. Jackson.
yes, sir.
and your presentation wasn't uploaded, so the board members, they need to know how much the incentive is
Okay,
per year.
yes, sir. So for special education teachers, new and existing, it would be $4,000 a year for 3 years only, $2,000 in 2 installments, $2,000 in August, $2,000 in June, at the end of that school year. It's a 3-year commitment. For self-contained special education teachers, they would be offered the 4,000 plus an additional 1,000, which they will be paid in 2 installments as well. So that would be $2,500 in August and $2,500 in June for the self-contained special education teachers. So they would get an additional supplement on top of the 4,000. Special education paraprofessionals and registered behavior technicians, new and existing, a $1,000 supplement, 500, 2 installments of August and June, 3-year commitment as well. And the self-contained paraprofessionals would be given an additional 500 on top of the 1,000 to be paid $750 in August and in June.
Please make sure that that's uploaded
Yes,
today
sir.
so board members can have it.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Are there any additional questions?
And if we do agree to that, can anybody in that 500 emergency certified?
It would be those teachers that are on a temporary special education certification. There aren't any emergency certificates for special education teachers.
Ms. Smith, it answered your question. And this would, if approved, this would start this year?
Yes, ma'am.
The division, okay.
26, 27.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a comment.
Ms. Cloud?
Thank you for being innovative and being proactive, because special ed educators are hard to come by. Other counties are stealing from us, and I don't blame them, because I wouldn't mind stealing from them. And maybe this will help us get people in place, because we are in desperate need of sped educators and aides. So thank you for being proactive on
Yes,
this.
ma'am.
Okay, crazy, I know you think I'm pestering you, and this is, because I'm a digger, I want to understand this. You said this is recruitment, okay? I mean, if you look at it's special education and recruitment incentives. Why wouldn't we want to recruit some of our emergency, in that 500? Why wouldn't we want to target some of those why don't we want to recruit them? Do you see what I'm saying? If we're just recruiting somebody that already has their certification, why are we not targeting those 500 and saying, hey, look what we have here?
Okay, so that's not exactly the case. So there are several alternative pathways to become certified as a special education teacher. So for the TSEC program, for example, that's the temporary special education certificate, and it's for secondary only, grades 6 through 12. So if a person has a bachelor's degree, then they are eligible with, of course, the required grade point average to enroll in a temporary program, a
Is that what
TSEC
you and I
program.
talked about?
Yes, ma'am, that's what you and I had spoken
Okay,
about.
now I
So
get it.
they do have the opportunity, so this does not exclude. This is open to anyone who has a degree and who has an interest in becoming a special education teacher.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, ma'am. And we also have, the State Department offers a grant for the TSEC teachers, because there's a requirement of 6 modules. And I did apply for the grant, and we're waiting on the award letter. That teachers are reimbursed, the TSEC teachers are reimbursed $600 for every module that they complete. And they also get $1,400 for passing the praxis, for a total of $5,000. So we're trying to find ways to supplement their financial costs to go back to school. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for explaining that. further down because we have people listening. And so that's important for everyone to know what's going on.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you because the state's working with us now.
That
They're
is
hearing-
correct.
They're hearing our cries of help.
And we're at the job fair tomorrow. We will have the universities that offer those alternative programs there to answer questions, and we'll be there as well, our department. Multiplex.
Multiplex.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, would you just say that out loud?
Oh, yeah,
time?
the MPS Job
Okay.
Fair tomorrow, April 29th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Crampton Bowl Multiplex.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Jackson. All right, next item, our consent agenda. Dr. Byrd? I was getting
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, ma'am. Superintendent requests your approval of consent action items 5A through 5C.
I move that we do the consent agenda one item at a time, because there's some need for clarity.
Okay. Can I have a second on that motion?
I second.
Okay, it has been moved and second that these items be considered separately, individually. So we'll, Dr. Byrd, if we can do A. Oh, I'm sorry. The motion has been moved and second. Any discussion on that? May I see a show of hands? Those in favor? Okay, motion carries. We will consider them individually.
Superintendent requests your approval of action item 5A, non-resident enrollment policy.
Madam President, I move that we accept item A, non-resident enrollment policy.
I second
I
it.
second.
Okay, it has been moved and second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for item A, non-resident enrollment policy. Is there any discussion on this matter at this time? Ms. Brown?
I know that when we spoke about it in the meeting, there was a question that I raised, the necessity of us having an annual enrollment for the non-residents. And the suggestion was for us to not have annual, or to consider not having annual, but to accept the students who were approved, as long as they're in, they're in.
I would agree with what she's saying there. I think, I know she's asking for clarity, but I think if we knew what she's saying, I think it's a very smart, I totally agree with her on that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking that if we would keep a continuous policy for all magnets,
Yes.
it would be less confusion, and parents would know rather than having one rule for this and another rule for that, confusion would take place. So a standard would be good.
Okay, so back to Ms., are you, oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can actually, yes, ma'am, we can do that, but let me make sure I understand. So are you asking for their application to be approved annually?
No, once they are approved and allowed to attend non-residential magnet or what have you, once they're in and they are meeting the requirements,
It's just automatic?
they shouldn't have to
Madam,
reapply.
Madam
Yes, ma'am.
Chair.
Okay.
I have,
No, I address the chair.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Coleman.
Thank you. I hear exactly what they're saying, and I think we brought it up at the previous meeting. And what Board Member District 6 stated, we want continuity, and the fact that once a student is enrolled, if that student maintains the standard to be qualified to attend, he or she is not dismissed and told to reapply. So the continuity would be, once accepted into the program, if that student maintains eligibility, that student should remain enrolled.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. That's our
Okay,
purpose.
so
Yes,
my
ma'am.
question would be then, with that understanding for approval of this item, is that policy written like that?
It-
Or
It is.
it
It
is
is,
written
yes,
like
ma'am.
that?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
From her last, thing, can we?
Dr. Williams, do you mind speaking to that for just a moment, please? Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Board Chair, Vice Chair, members, Dr. Byrd. So the policy as it is written is in general, the timeline that you are referencing, Board Member Brown, came up in our FAQs. So it was around a procedural piece. It was not built into the policy. The policy loud enough. The policy is general. So the policy states simply that a student who is not a resident of Montgomery Public Schools can apply to be enrolled in Montgomery Public Schools, that it is based on the program that they are applying to and continuing to meet the eligibility criteria for that program, that a fee, not during 26, 27, but a fee may be assessed in upcoming years, and that the district will not be responsible for transportation or providing any educational services outside of the district.
Madam President, I still didn't hear what Ms. Brown asked. She wants to we are trying to make sure, before we vote on this, that they are treated, these non-residents, they are treated just like any other magnet student. And if they're maintaining the grades and behavior and all that kind of stuff, that they should not have to reapply every year. They should fit into the same group. And I didn't hear that. And what we just heard our superintendent say is that there is a policy. And I'm seeing other people shake their heads going, no, there isn't. So
So
that's
the
what I'm
wording, if I may, I'll read the wording that's in the policy that is proposed around that.
Before you do that, let me remind the board, it is actually written in our connection that was considered, and it is not in the policy to state they would have to reapply. It's never been in there. It's general, but that was a procedural thing. It was mentioned, so Ms. Brown wanted to just clarify that in the public knowledge, these students will be treated just like our magnets and any other students going to school. Once you come to Montgomery Public Schools, correct me if I'm wrong,
That's right.
you're here. We intend on doing everything we can to keep you. Does that help you?
Okay,
Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Let me further clarify. Can we make change to the FAQs to make that statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Dr. Williams, I'm sorry, I cut her off. Did you want to state the policy?
Would
And
you-
then Ms. Cloud.
Would that be helpful for
Would
me to
that be
read that
helpful to
portion of
you
the
all? You
policy?
need to hear the policy again?
I need to say what I was gonna have intention
And
to
I'm
say.
gonna give you that opportunity. Just hold it just a second. Let's hear the policy.
All right, yes, ma'am. I won't read, do you want it in its entirety or the section that addresses students returning? Okay, all non-resident students attending Montgomery Public Schools pursuant to this policy must meet and maintain adherence to the same school requirements as resident students, including but not limited to all academic and attendance requirements. Failure to do so may result in the revocation of the non-resident student's enrollment.
Very good, very clear and concise. Ms. Cloud, you have a comment?
Okay, I think that the concern here is that when we have asynchronous days, some students don't show up. And we don't want that to hurt our graduation rate because they will be coming in as MPS students. But if they don't attend, then we have some policy that says you're not attending, you're not engaging. So therefore, next year, maybe it's that particular one or two student that doesn't do that, but we need to have an avenue to go so it does not hurt our graduation rate, because that affects us all. So the 1 year, I can understand why they were doing it, but maybe we just need to put that in the policy, that what you just said, according to, if something should happen, but make it a little bit clearer that the understanding is if you don't attend if you don't give us the work we need for you in virtual school, that would, I mean,
You know, I think that's a great accountability. I mean, I agree with that because so many, there, you can get those people that are lazy and they don't do it. Madam President, I'm sorry. Madam President, I didn't have to.
well, the non-resident enrollment, they're non-residents, but still, when they come in here, they either come to school or because their attendance is going to be important. And again, it will affect the graduation rate. So that's where I don't want it to hurt us to carry that student forward for 2 or 3 years.
And
That's all.
I understand what you're saying. Not sure, so sure that's policy. I would just caution the board, we don't want to scare them before we get them. And so we don't want to have people so boxed in. The intention to come into school is to come to school. So we need to figure out how to keep them coming. Is my understanding of it would be. I think procedure, I think you're right. I think there has to be maybe not policy to tie our hands so, but more so procedure in Dr. Byrd and his staff to have a idea of what to do when that occurs.
But I think when you lay out the standards and what's expected, people will be adherent to that more so. I really, truly do. So-
Yeah, and I think the policy covers that. I think it's, if I'm applying from out of state, Montgomery Public School, or out of town or wherever, it has told me what my baby needs to do to stay here.
That's right.
To come here and to stay. And you all said they can stay using all the resources and they'll be welcomed every year unless something changes. Is that?
Are there any other questions pertaining to the policy? But to everyone's point, that is outlined in the policy. We left it general enough so that it would apply. And that statement actually says excessive absences or tardiness may result in dismissal from the program. Regular attendance and punctuality are necessary to ensure students receive the full benefit of the program and to maintain program expectations.
Very good, Dr.
And
Williamson,
also,
thank
and
you.
to you all's points as well, we'll make sure that we add some additional language in there in our FAQs to make sure that it's clear for everyone.
Very good. Thank you so much. And as all of our policies, we'll review this again, see how it's working next year and take a look at it again. All minds and hearts clear on this, on item A? Okay, excellent discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Williamson.
Now that it has been motioned in second, discussion has been had, may I see a show of hands of all of those in favor to accept Dr. Byrd's recommendation for item A? It is unanimous. Thank you very much, Dr. Byrd.
Thank you. Superintendent requests your approval of action item 5B, K-12 Learning Academy contract.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for K-12 Learning Academy contract.
I second it.
It has been moved in second to accept the superintendent's recommendation for item B, K-12 Learning Academy contract. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Dr. Coleman?
I would like to start off by saying the K-12 Learning Academy is a wonderful step forward. But I do get a little bit of heartburn when I look at the contract that we have. And there are a couple of items with as ordered. And the concern, and there's a third one, there's a concern, especially when it comes down to travel and training sessions, when there are no guideposts as to how excessive those fees could get. I'm pretty comfortable with the as ordered on the synchronous sessions because it's limited to up to 30 enrolled students at $120. We can do that math. But on a couple of these others, and again, especially the travel and housing and meals and so forth, we just don't want to be abused. And I will say, the thing that made me feel most comfortable was this is a one-year contract, but we're not looking for it for 1 year. We're going to come back and ask for a renewal. But I think I wanted us to discuss it so that our colleagues would remain conscious and aware of our budgets. We have been boasting that we got out of financial trouble and we ended up with a 3.5 month reserve. But if every chance we get, we dig into that reserve, we're going to find ourselves in trouble again. So we don't want we don't want many open-ended items. Thank you. That's it.
And Madam President?
While Ms. Sneed is coming, I'm sorry for pointing.
Just a quick comment, and just to add on to what you're saying, Dr. Coleman, we are in we're in economic instability right now worldwide. And we just want to make sure that every decision we make will ensure that we are fiscally responsible with the money that we're spending, and that we're also making sure that we're saving for that rainy day, because it's coming. I lived through proration, and it's really, really tough. So we want to dot every I, cross every T, make sure we have money to take care of our students.
Thank you. Dr. Keith?
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, and just, to make it clear, we had, and I'm going to add one thing. We have people, a politician, not politicians, that are, and I would say that, not politicians, that to me have a personal agenda, not against me, maybe against Jackson Hospital. There's personal agendas out there that are trying to take $4.5 million, that threatened us, threatened our president, our former president, and our former vice president, now president, was saying if we didn't do or put somebody in office that they didn't want, and we stood up to that. 4 women stood up to that, and we're still standing. And now I listen to a song. I feel very God-driven. You're walking through hell, you keep walking. And I'm going to keep walking. I'm not using names or office, but when you know that they stand in threat because you haven't signed a contract or anything yet, and saying, hello, if you all don't do this and using this over our head, it's almost like blackmail to me. I'm not finished. And what I'm saying here, we just did textbooks. That's they want $4.5 million there on textbooks. This here, what
Madam
Dr. Coleman just said.
Is this germane to the motion?
Dr. Keith?
No, Dr. Coleman
But
is right.
Dr. Keith,
No.
we're in motion. You have to,
Germane.
yeah, it's already been a motion on the floor. If you just address the travel or
But I
the
agree,
portion
that's
of the
one, not
contract.
only textbooks, but travel. She's right. We do, when you know they're taking that money, they're following through on a threat. It's called coercion. I don't care how you say it, it's coercion.
Okay.
It's using an office to put undue, I looked it up.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Keith, on
It's
that
fact.
point, because we're gonna have Ms. Sneed
gotta make
speak
cuts.
with that. Ms. Cloud, is this on the subject of this contract? Okay.
Yes. Following up on what Board Member Ms. Mitchell said. She's been in proration, but we have to be smart, we have to be conscionable of what we're doing, but we can't stop doing what we need to do for the children. I say,
right.
it's a 1-year contract, let's keep an eye on it, but let's go forward with it because it helps our children.
Thank you,
Madam
Ms. Cloud,
Chair.
to that point, because I am sure that Ms. Sneed has an answer that we need to hear, because certainly we've not opened our checkbooks for travel that we have not considered.
And also,
So,
Madam President, before you
yes.
go to Ms. Sneed as well, let me address that as well, because
Okay.
as we talk about being fiscally responsible, being fiscally responsible also entails forecasting of what is going to happen in the future. We cannot continue doing the same things that we've always done. Our enrollment has declined every year for many years. And so what we're doing is we're trying to be proactive, we're trying to be innovative, and we're trying to be creative by addressing this by actually increasing our enrollment. We can't be physically responsible if we're going to continue to lose students every single year. The virtual school, the intention of the virtual school is not only to allow flexibility for our current students, but also to attract more students to Montgomery Public Schools. And so that is a part of actually being physically responsible.
Madam Chair, I do want to hear, but may I speak for just a brief moment? I think I started off by saying that this is an excellent step in the right direction. And I also said the statements were made just so that my fellow board members would put it at the forefront of their minds that as we look at these various contracts that come through, we watch for things, signals such as ordered. I have no complaint about the concept, the idea. I know that we're moving in the right direction. And I don't want my colleagues nor my constituents to think that I would ever do anything to stop innovation and progress. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for all your comments. I'm going to address the board now. So the question was about the as-ordered cost. So as we open up statewide enrollment, that proposes other challenges that we will have to face as far as when it comes to state testing. And so that's one thing we have to consider is where the students will be coming from. So if we had a large population in North Alabama, say we'd had to rent a library for a day, and we also have to pay a proctor to come in to do those tests. So if that became a situation where we needed that and we had people outside of the Montgomery radius where they couldn't test in-house, in district, then we would rent a library. Say the library cost $250 for the day to rent, we would pay that, and then it would cost $150 that day for the proctor. So those are the kinds of costs that we would incur if we had a large population in a certain area that were too far to travel to Montgomery. So that's where those costs would be incurred.
Excellent explanation. And it makes sense. When you hear everything put together, it makes sense. Because I think about fiscally or financially, if you go back and add up, if you didn't have those students in North Alabama, what it cost us to lose them or be without, I bet you the cost would be greater. So thank you for that. Any other concerns with that?
And also, too, we will address those costs because we will use our own staff to actually to serve as proctors. And so the only cost will be actually renting the facility. But we will actually cover the proctors and our staff would actually provide the testing environment for it.
Madam Chair, if I may add, with the contract as well, because there's an agreed upon amount. So if there are additional costs, then those additional costs can be brought before the board again for approval so that you guys are aware.
I'm glad you spoke up, because now I have a task for you. In the future, with these contracts, it may be helpful, and you all tell me if I'm wrong, for you to provide that explanation to us. On this contract, you're going to see this item, but know that this is what was included or considered in that. Would that help? It would help me. I wouldn't
Yes,
have that
absolutely.
question. Okay.
And not only help us, but we have people listening, and it helps them understand. And our goal for this board, I truly believe, as a whole, is to be as transparent as we possibly can be. That's the only way we're going to have buy-in is transparency.
Well, and we cover that greatly in these sessions, because people that don't know what special call meetings are, it's to take care of the business of the board outside of the set dates. So that's what we do. We come here, and this is not about any of us individually. It's about the business of the board and the direction the superintendent is taking us and our buy-in to that. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now that it has been discussed, for the superintendent's recommendation, on the consent agenda of item B, K-12 Learning Academy contract. May I see a show of hands for all of those in favor? It is unanimous. You ladies thought I was going to forget what I was doing, didn't you, Treat? All right, Dr. Byrd.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Superintendent requests your approval of action item 5C, virtual school policy update.
Madam President, I move that we approve on the consent agenda, item C, virtual school policy update.
I second.
Okay, it has been moved and second on item C, superintendent's recommendation for virtual school policy update. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing or seeing no discussion on this matter, may I see a show of hands? Are all of those in favor? It is unanimous. Okay, Dr. Byrd.
Consider for approval. Superintendent requests your approval of action item 6A, personnel report, certified personnel.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for personnel report, certified personnel.
I second.
Item A has been moved and second according to the superintendent's recommendation. Any discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, may I see a show of hands of all of those in favor for accepting this recommendation? It is unanimous.
Thank you. Superintendent requests your approval of action item 6B, supplemental personnel minutes.
Madam Chair, I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation for a 6D supplemental personnel minute.
I'll second.
It has been moved and second to accept the superintendent's recommendation for supplemental personnel minutes. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing no discussion, may I see a show of hands of all of those in favor? It has been passed. Thank you so much. I cannot, it is unanimous, I'm sorry. I cannot tell you, I'll tell you again before we adjourn how proud of this board I am. Those questions are very on point. I thank you for the clarity so people will understand and know that their money is well spent, well-intentioned, and our job is the business of the children. And we come together collectively and do very well at doing that. So I thank you again. This meeting is now adjourned.